We have that gland here that looks like a butterfly. Very beautiful one. It's called the thyroid. But understand, all glands that produce hormones, they are called, and they are part of the endocrine system. So endocrine means the hormonal system. Now hormones are secreted by glands, okay? And the function of this thyroid gland is to secrete hormones. One, of course, it secretes about 4 hormones, but I know most of you just know the T3 and the T4. Those of you who have had thyroid problems and you've gone for checkup and you've told TSH is high or T3 is high or T4 is high, and then you become so scared. Now you have a goiter, they tell you, hey, now this is a swollen one, we need to get rid of it. I've had a case where an older lady, about 65 or so, was told that the thyroid has grown and is now pressing against the lung, so she cannot breathe. Hey. 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 Anyway, we move swiftly, right? So, so this is the case. So this thyroid. Hey. Hey. Some doctors, though. So we have this thyroid, and the function of this thyroid gland is to produce thyroid hormones. The most important ones are the T3 and T4. Now, just the name sounds, T3 and T4. T3 is the most active hormone. So when you have high T3, you'll get benefits of thyroid hormones. T4 is the most abundant, but is not active, is the less active. Okay, have you tumeshika hapo? So T3 is the most active and T4 is the least active, but the most abundant. So your body secretes more of T4. And then these T4 are converted to T3, and then now T3 gives you the benefits that you need. Okay? But understand this, that for any gland to secrete hormones, that gland must be stimulated. If you can see that, you'll easily see that on top we have the hypothalamus. That is the one that stimulates all glands to do their job. But for you to stimulate this gland, because this is the thyroid, because our focus today is the thyroid gland. So we start from the hypothalamus, all over up there. Then this hypothalamus has to communicate. So this the hypothalamus is our CEO. I talked about this before, but I want you to get it clearly. So this is our CEO, okay? And then below him, there are general managers. So that is the pituitary gland. Now, I don't know what is coming to your mind when you see that pituitary gland, but again, we have the larger part and the smaller part, okay? The larger part is what we call the anterior pituitary gland. Now, we are going to be doctors here, slowly but carefully. So we have the larger part, which is the front part, is called the anterior pituitary. The smaller part, which is the hind part, is called the posterior pituitary. Do not cram, okay? Simply understand that this is the general managers. So here, the general managers receive information from the CEO. And then the general managers spread that information to the workers or the smaller managers, and they have to write a memo, right? So for the CEO to communicate to the general managers, he just makes a call. Hello, guys, are you there? We need to do something. And then he tells them, because I cannot communicate directly to the thyroid, therefore I need you to communicate to the thyroid, but I'm telling you the information that you will take to the thyroid. So I'm telling you this. Please, we are having less amounts of T3 and T4 in the system. So what do? Please tell the thyroid to produce more of those hormones. That is a call from the master, who is the CEO, to the general manager. Now the general manager writes a memo. This memo is to instruct these workers to go, let's call this a storekeeper, right? To go and open the stores so that people pick the equipment for work, because we need work done, right? So this one calls this one, and this one writes a memo to this one. Now, this one calls this one through a line that is specific for the communication between the CEO and the manager. That line is what we call the TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone. Hiya! It has started becoming difficult, right? So now we have thyrotropin releasing hormone. Understand the word releasing. So it tells this one to release another hormone that stimulates the thyroid. So from the CEO to the general manager, we have TRH. And then from the manager The memo that goes to the storekeeper is what we call the TSH. Most of you are familiar with the TSH, right? The thyroid stimulating hormone. So that tells you, for you to get information or for you to get the thyroid hormones, you must stimulate the thyroid. And what stimulates the thyroid is the thyroid stimulating hormone, the one that you go to the lab to test. And then when the thyroid stimulating hormone is released to stimulate the thyroid hormone, now the thyroid gland, now the gland starts to release the hormones, which is T3 and T4. And remember we said T4 is the least active but the most abundant. And T3 is the most active, right? So therefore we produce T3 and T4. When we produce T3 and T4, now somebody will ask, what if we have overstimulation of the thyroid and now we start to produce more of the T3 and T4? Good question. This is the point. When you produce more of T3s and T4s, you don't have to worry about that because your body is designed to control that. And now there's something that takes this message back to the hypothalamus and also takes this message back to the managers to tell the managers, hey, the stores are open, these guys have picked their equipment and they are working. So therefore, please stop stimulating me any further. So when you have high T3s and T4s, what happens is you cause something called a negative feedback. A negative feedback means when you have production of high hormones, those hormones go and block the production of the message from the CEO and from the general managers. Are we together? So now, so you've produced these two hormones in plenty. And the body realizes, thank you so much, who is that gifting us? Thank you. So this body realizes that these are so many hormones in the system and they're in blood. And when you have high of these hormones, what are the things that you will feel that will make your body start thinking, this is abnormal? You start having tremors, you start losing weight so fast because thyroid hormones are metabolic hormones. They are like your oven. So they produce heat. Now they break down fat to give you free fatty acids. They break down glycogen to give you glucose. So they increase glucose in blood. Now you see when they increase glucose in blood, that is a problem, right? So therefore the body knows this is going to be a mess. So we have to stop or block T3s and T4s. And how do we block that? The T3s and T4s, they block their production because they are high. Now they tell the hypothalamus, hey, please stop. They also tell the general managers, the pituitary, hey, enough. That is what we call the negative feedback. So we have high hormones, and then the high hormones block their production. Are we together? Good. So when these hormones are blocking their production, that is what we call negative feedback. On the other hand, there's something called a positive feedback. It's exactly the opposite. So you have high hormones, and then these hormones still instruct the body to produce more hormones. When you have high hormones, you expect them to stop now production. But when you have high hormones and the body still produces high hormones, that is what we call the positive feedback. Negative feedback is basically high hormones telling the system, hey, enough, do not produce. So they block their own production. Once you've understood that, this is very important for you. Now we put that aside and continue with the class. Take a time and take just a minute and sink that in as we sip our water. Take your time and sink it in. Once you've just sunk that in, you start to understand higher levels of thyroid hormones in the blood, they have never been a problem. They have never been a problem because if you have a functioning system, if you're eating healthy, if you're fasting regularly, if you're exercising, if you enjoy the sun, you have low stress levels, the body will do the rest. The body will do the rest. But you people worry a lot about the high levels of thyroid, and then you take drugs to block the thyroid from producing these hormones. When you block the thyroid from producing these hormones, you're actually blocking a biological function. This is the same thing that you do when you block the cells, the parietal cells in the stomach from producing the acid, hoping that hyperacidity is the problem. No, it is not the problem. The problem is what you've been feeding yourself that causes these cells to overproduce. There is no single day that your body just wakes up and starts to overproduce hormones for no good reason. There must be a reason. Now, always ask why. Daktari, I have hyperthyroidism. Why? Daktari, yes, I have hypothyroidism, low hormones. But why? Why? Why do I have them? Most of you don't ask that question. And that's why you end up coming out from the consultation room with a prescription full of drugs. You don't even know how they work. You don't even know what they're being indicated for. Now you ask your doctor, why do I have low hormones in my system? And your doctor becomes mad, or he starts throwing jargons at you. Oh, you know, this is my eczema coma. This is, I don't know, the Graves disease. You're now confused even further. What is Graves? What is my eczema coma? These are your terms. This is how the system conditioned you to think. Please break it down in a language that I can understand. I don't understand medicine. Just break it down in a language that I understand. Is it too much to ask? For the sake of your consultation fee, is it too much to ask?